Tom Pelissero joining us. He's part of the NFL draft coverage. That'll be, they got all kinds of things coming up. The coverage starts the 25th, 26th, 27th. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern on NFL Network, the Emmy-winning series NFL 360 will air, a draft special featuring Tom on Tulane quarterback Michael Pratt, the perfect prospect in this year's draft, who will have a number 7 jersey and a Believe in number 7 tattoo in memory of a former high school teammate, late friend who passed away, Bryce Gowdy. So the story features how Pratt keeps the spirit of Bryce and his late brother David alive. Tom joins us on the program now. All right, Tom, let me give you the poll question. Seton, give Tom the poll question, at least for this second hour.
If you were Jaden Daniels, you were happy to go to the Commanders, or you're hoping someone trades up?
I would fairly say Jaden Daniels would love for someone, specifically the Las Vegas Raiders, to trade up, but Washington has, let's say, demonstrated some inflexibility in terms of moving out of that pick. It's a unique situation. Obviously, barring the world collapsing tomorrow, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1 to the Chicago Bears, which puts Washington atop the draft. They've thoroughly examined everybody. I know that there are people there who really like Drake May. J.J. McCarthy impressed everybody who was at his pro day, including the Commanders, which is part of why they did the unique thing last week with bringing all those quarterbacks plus Michael Penix in for a group visit. Now, I'd say there are not people within the league who recall in our team doing this with quarterbacks. There's plenty of teams who bring in the group visits. The 49ers are one of them. That's where Adam Peters, the general manager, comes from. But with quarterbacks, usually you want to spend the maximum amount of time with them in every facet of the building. I would point out there's only one player who got a ride from the airport from Dan Quinn. That was Jaden Daniels. Everybody else rode the shuttle bus. So if you want to read into the transportation signals here, you would say it's pretty clear that Jaden Daniels is going to be the guy. And I would say within the league, that would be not necessarily the expectation, because until the pick's done, there's enough moving parts here. Things can change. But I would certainly say the most likely scenario when you talk to people within the league is Jaden Daniels goes number 2.
And you know how this works. We're looking for a story. Sometimes you create more of a story than is really there. Does Jaden Daniels want to go there? Was he bothered that they brought in all these quarterbacks on the same day to work out? And I don't know if it's what's real or not in this situation, but I got to factor in Antonio Pierce's relationship with Jaden Daniels going back to Arizona State. I think that's real. I just don't know, do the Raiders have enough? Well, first of all, would the Commanders be willing to listen? And do the Raiders have enough to move up to number 2?
I can tell you the teams that have called Washington, and this goes back to the Combine, this goes back to last month. Every time people have called Washington about number 2, the answer has been, yeah, we're probably keeping the pick. Now, is there some type of an offer of, Mike Ditka style, here's our next 3 drafts? Maybe. Everybody's got a price eventually here. But you got to think, too, Dan, about the number of voices that are in that room right now for Washington. You got Josh Harris, who is a new owner going through his first draft. He's been in every Combine interview. He's been at the visits. He's intimately involved in the process. You got Bob Myers, the former Golden State Warriors GM, who is at the Combine and has been advising Josh Harris going all the way back to the coaching and GM search. You've got, obviously, Adam Peters, who's the GM. Magic Johnson, I guarantee, has found a way to voice his opinion on what should happen here. You got Dan Quinn. You got Cliff Kingsbury. That's a lot of different people from different backgrounds that are going to be weighing in on the topic here. From Jaden Daniels' perspective, you're right. He was recruited to Arizona State. Antonio Pierce was a big part of that. Jaden's mom, who is very involved in his life and his career, has been, helping kind of steer things all along here. It's a little bit curious that he would want to reunite with someone taking him back to the Arizona State days, since Arizona State did not end well for a variety of reasons, and it was at LSU that Jaden Daniels really found himself. But there's a comfort level there. He would like to be in Las Vegas. It's just at this point, unless you're going to pull a major lever here and try to go full Eli Manning, it's just difficult to pull this off. And for Washington, it seems like as they've continued to go through this process, the arrows are pointing toward them just taking Jaden Daniels, making the best of it in terms of getting him on board, which is the other reason that if you're Jaden Daniels and you've got any trepidation about going someplace that's not Las Vegas, wouldn't you think you'd want the team to spend as much time and have you meet with everybody and sit down and go through the playbook and whatever else? That didn't necessarily happen to the same extent that Jaden Daniels or his people would want to, but ultimately it's on Washington to make that pick, and the signs keep pointing toward that being number 2.
Why aren't the Bears publicly declaring that they're taking Caleb Williams?
I don't think they're really allowed to, Dan. The NFL frowns upon that. They like to have some level of drama, even though there's not really a whole lot of drama to be had.
Well, what do you mean allowed to? Would they get
the NFL
scolded?
doesn't want. The NFL wants the first time that it's official to be on national TV.
I get it. But if I'm the Bears, I want what's best for the Bears and my fan base. We believe in this guy. This is our guy, and we have no questions whatsoever. You know what? We're going to play the game on draft night, but this is our guy. We want you guys to know. Instead of having your fan base go, we should have kept Justin Fields, or I don't know about this guy. We should take Jaden Daniels.
Here's what I would tell you. And there are some people within the league who buy into Jaden Daniels is going to be a better NFL player than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, though, is the consensus top pick in this draft. I would tell you, behind the scenes, everything that the Bears have done for the past several months has been with an eye toward, we are building this thing for Caleb Williams. You make an offensive coordinator change. You bring in Shane Waldron, who's worked with different types of quarterbacks in Seattle. They think that he's a really good fit for Caleb Williams. You sign DeAndre Swift. You trade for Keenan Allen. You retain your offensive line coach, Chris Morgan, because he's a really good run game guy. So you make sure you got that in place. They've obviously built that defense. It's a top 10 caliber defense. And then you signal to Caleb Williams that you're all in on him by trading Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick early in the process rather than dragging that out to the draft. Now, could they have just gotten on the phone and told Caleb that as opposed to trading away Justin Fields for a 6th? Probably. That would have probably had the same effect here. But what they've done over the last couple of months here is when Caleb Williams came in for his visit, they sent him out to dinner with a bunch of their key players and make sure everybody was in a good spot there. They've stayed in touch with Caleb Williams via Zoom since that day, going through just talking football stuff with him. This is all clearly geared toward Caleb Williams.
Oh, I get it that they're taking him. I said that I was told by a source the commissioner, or at least the home office, discourages you from making this public. That's what this comes down to. They just want that to be the first announcement. It's the big night for the commissioner in the NFL. I get that. I know you're short on time. Over under quarterbacks in round 1. If I set the number at 4.5. No, I'll set it at 5.5.
I mean, that's the correct line right there. That's where I would set it. Right now, sitting here, I would say 6 quarterbacks go in round 1. And that's in part because this is a unique class where if you get beyond the first 6, arguably 7, because there are some people who have Spencer Rattler in their top 6, some have him ahead of Michael Penix. There's really not a whole lot of other guys. There is Michael Pratt, who you mentioned. We got a great feature coming on NFL 360 tomorrow night. He's probably be a late day 2, early day 3 guy. I think Joe Milton, the guy with the howitzer from Tennessee, he's going to get taken late just based on traits. And that might be it. That might be the only quarterbacks who get drafted, other than maybe there's somebody in the 7th because there's a competition to sign him as a PFA and you don't want to go down that. So you just take him late. But that's it. So you got more teams right now that need quarterbacks than there are quarterbacks to be taken. So if you go right down the list right now, all right, Caleb Williams to the Bears, barring something totally unforeseen at number 1. Let's give the Commanders Jaden Daniels at 2. Somebody then takes, in all likelihood, not necessarily 100%, because J.J. McCarthy's in that mix too, but somebody probably ends up with Drake May at number 3, whether that's the Patriots, the Giants, or the Vikings in a trade-up scenario. J.J. McCarthy then goes somewhere, I would think, between 4 and 11, which then still leaves potentially the Broncos, the Raiders, some of the wildcard teams, like could the Rams potentially take one as well? I think that there's a lot of people within the league who believe if the Raiders cannot go get Jaden Daniels, which, by the way, would be totally out of character for Tom Telesco to make a trade up, the general manager there. Michael Penix is the guy who makes a lot of sense for the Raiders. And then Bo Nix, he's got a lot of fans around the league. Let's say you're the Vikings and you get shut out. You can't trade up. You miss out. The Giants take McCarthy and you're stuck. You might think, hey, we got not just number 11, we got number 23. Bo Nix might be there. And then the question is, are you worried about a threat from a team like the Rams, whose general manager Les Snead played with Bo Nix's dad and has known him forever, and Matthew Stafford's toward the end, that you feel like we need to get up ahead the Vikings are really, I think, one of the fascinating teams this entire draft because, yes, they signed Sam Darnold, but they don't have another guy right now. They clearly want a quarterback. Everyone's been talking since they acquired the 23rd pick that, all right, they're going to package him and move up. But someone needs to be willing to move down for you to move up if they get stuck there. I really believe any of those other 5 guys are possibilities for the Vikings to take, whether it is at some point in round 1 or if they try to get up there and take one at the top 2.
I know you're busy. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
That's Tom Pelissero, NFL Network insider, part of their draft coverage. And tomorrow at 8 Eastern, the Emmy-winning series NFL 360, a draft day special featuring the Tulane quarterback, Michael Pratt.